Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. Today we're at Block Island, north of New York's Manhattan, and we're having a look at quite a quirky little aeroplane that released a few weeks ago for Microsoft Flight Simulator, the Camair 480 Twin Navion. It's been developed by Hangar Studios, and we're going to be taking a little look at the aeroplane, see what it has to offer as a pay-work aeroplane in the sim. It's around £15–16 sterling, roughly $20-ish dollars, including tax, if that is applicable. Share your thoughts down in the comments below, hit like and subscribe, and of course, as always, the links are in the description below if you want to get your hands on the add-on for yourself. A lot of work has gone into the aeroplane, and it's been tested by the owner and a pilot of one of these aeroplanes in real life too. There's some really nice details, but also at the price point, some details that are lacking that we would expect anyway. One of the biggest things here, a little bit disappointing in a way, is the sound is from the stock Diamond DA62, not from the real aeroplane. That's a little bit disappointing. But they say nothing is inoperable, with the exception that some of the functions are actually different to what you would expect due to limitations with the sim against that of the manufacturer specifications. On the ground though, with the Tobii eye tracker, if we looked around, it looks quite nice. The cabin modelling is quite nice, and actually the texturing for the leather seats and the pedestal and things are quite nice too. The yoke's really quite cool with that leather effect on that, and the wood on the left hand side here quite nice too. Having said that, looking closer up to the dash, you get very pixelated dashboard. The instruments all look quite good though, very crisp and nicely detailed, and the operating limitation plate there very nicely detailed too. You can read it quite nicely. Canopy is animated, so you can look back. What we're going to do is take her for a little test flight around Block Island State Airfield and see how she flies through takeoff down to landing as well. The autopilot is the Cap 140. It's default to the way that it works within the sim. Couldn't hear a difference in sound as we close the canopy. We're going to start the taxi here. I've just extended the flaps to takeoff setting there as well. Get to the threshold of the runway, we'll have a little look at the actual animations. Handles quite nicely on the ground. The model itself looks okay. It's nothing special, but it looks quite nice. This livery in particular is quite cool, which is why we're using it today. It's one of the included liveries. From the outside, we'll deflect the ailerons, have a little look at those. Same with the elevator. Nice animations there. And then the rudder. Full flap so we can see those animations. Back to takeoff. And one thing I want to have a little look at, just going to bring the RPM up to 2000 or so. I want to see if the magnetos have an effect. They do. Differential brakes are quite nice. Steering's really good on the ground actually, it has to be said. Super short runway for us here. Setting power, accelerating very quickly here. Already at the speed at which we can take off, in fact. A little bit grippy actually on the ground until we get airborne there. Then it kind of whipped up a little bit, but again, still going to use the aeroplane, likely to be pilot error in that instance from me. Turn the Tobii eye tracker on and we'll have a little look on the Camair. Climbs really well, accelerates incredibly quickly though, for a very light aeroplane. It's a tiny aeroplane, quite light, with 2 engines on it. It's quite sporty. Let's see if we can trim her easily in straight and level flight here. Trims quite nicely as well. We flick to sort of a darker time and we can turn on all of the floodlights and the interior lighting of the aeroplane around this kind of twilight zone of the day. And this is where the emissives really come into their own. There's some absolutely spectacular cabin lights inside this aeroplane. In the rear as well, if you want to, you can turn the cabin lights on or off. And it has a retractable gear as well, with a really nice animation. I'd like to see them work on custom sounds for the aeroplane. I'm not sure how they would, whether the aeroplane in real life still flies or not, but it would be something I would like to see maybe added in. But then at the same time, you don't really, unless you are told, which you are in the manual, you don't really notice that you are experiencing different sounds necessarily. Something else that's worth pointing out, it is one thing that we did mention prior to our departure as well earlier on, is the clickable interchangeable switches with the GTN 750. So there is a little toggle up on the top right. Depending on the livery you've got that you're using, you might have a guarded switch as well, like a red switch that you have to lift to click. In this case we don't. We can cycle around to the GTN 750 and the GTN XI as well. I've got the PMS50 GTN 750 installed, and it is compatible with that, which is great. There we are. And that's another option for you, for those of you who like to have that, which I mean, it is a great bit of equipment to have, to be fair. So far I've actually found the flight model to be quite smooth, quite nice. It's very easy to fly and get used to. Quite impressed actually with what they've managed to create up to this point. It's a very fun, unique aeroplane, something quite different to anything that we are used to in the sim at the moment, and it's an aeroplane I've not until this arrived in my email inbox even heard of. You can climb with one engine. There are failures implemented. There are 26 failures. Fuel pumps can be affected by some of those failures as well. So I'm going to spend a few minutes just working our way back towards Block Island. We've tuned the VOR in for the approach as well, and twizzled the OBS dial so that we have the inbound course set nicely as well. So we'll see how all of that works in a moment. I've got to say, initial reservations with some of the textures on the dashboard, but actually otherwise been quite an enjoyable experience. Buzzing around, quite easy to get used to, very stable in flight, and quite enjoyable, something very unique. The price, as we mentioned at the beginning, is quite low actually in comparison to what you do get for your money, though I would like to see some of those improvements made for things like the sound. So what we'll do now is get this gear down, and we'll work to configure for the approach. Okay, so with gear down then, and speed just about in the white arc, we're going to start to extend those flaps. It does tend to sink quite quickly, this, so we have to be quite proactive in some throttle management, sorting out attitudes and everything as well. Just coming back on profile now on short final here, trimming accordingly for the approach. Try and keep it nice and stable. Short runway here, Block Island. A little bit of turbulence. Over the trees. And touchdown. Not the smoothest. I'm not braking because I want to see what the roll is like, and actually it's not decelerating rapidly like some other airplanes had done in the past, and now we go for brakes. It stops quite nicely too. From the outside we can see the oleos compress ever so slightly, and on the top right you can see our touchdown score. Really quite nimble. And quite good fun. What we'll do is plonk it right out the front of the small terminal building. And there are two other things that I want to show you guys. So, park brake set. So, we have a couple of different features here that we haven't yet discussed. Cargo latch is one of them, and then down here there's a really small flight manual. So, if we click that flight manual icon, what you'll see around the aeroplane in a moment are chocks and pitot covers. Nice little touch to sort the aeroplane out at the end of a flight. Similarly, the cargo latch is another feature they've added in, so by unlocking that and opening it all up, we get some nice animations with some suitcases on the background. Of course, a leopard print case, why not? And they're really funky looking, kind of mix style cargo hatch there too, complete with first aid kit. I like it. So there you have it, the Camair 480 Twin Navion by Hangar Studios 713. The links will be in the description below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and of course share your thoughts down below. And I hope to see you join us in a live stream in the near future. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.